Hari Om, good evening, a very warm welcome to all of you. Please come. Let's pray together. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya sahana bhavatu sahano bhunaktu sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vedvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. O Lord, the Almighty, the Omniscient, the Omnipotent, the Omnipresent, who also has the divine names Adhishtanam and Apramattaha. To such a divine Lord, we all together, with utmost devotion, faith, and complete surrender, we offer our humble salutations, Sashtanga Pranams to you. We seek your grace, your mercy, your love, your compassion, your strength, your forgiveness. O Lord, bless us with the divine qualities of Shraddha, Bhakti, Jnana, Vairagya, Prapatti, Mumukshutvam, only and only to understand thy true nature, to have the first-hand experience of thy divine self within us, Aparoksha Anubhuti. We beseech in you that at the end of our lives we reach thy holy feet. Om Tat Sat. Today, by the grace of the Almighty and the blessings of the Guru Parampara, We are on our Divine Discourse number 329 on the 25th of April 2023. Shobhana Kritnama Samvatsara Uttarayana Vasanta Rutu Vaishaka Masa Shukla Paksha Panchami Aridra Nakshatra Atiganda Yoge Alavakarane. On this auspicious day of Tuesday and the auspicious time of the evening, at the will of God, we all take a firm resolution, an oath. न हम करता हरि करता हरि प्रेरणाय हरि प्रीत्यर्थम. I am not the doer of anything. This entire body, mind, senses conglomerate is a creation of the Lord, and He is working through this instrument. Therefore, I accept each and every situation in life, be it any incident, circumstance, happening. All that is nothing but at the behest of the Lord. I am not the doer or the karta. I am not the bhokta, nor I am the jnata. With these firm resolutions, repeating in our mind again and again, we accept everything with a smile. With that prasada buddhi, not complaining about anything. We know that whatever is coming is only and only to uplift this life from the ocean of samsara, the ocean of births and death. I humbly beseech in you, O Lord, to keep this knowledge alive in me consistently and in the truest sense. Om Tat Sat. Our humble salutations to the Guru Parampara. Hari. Good evening to all of you. A very warm welcome once again. So, today being the Jayanti of Sri Paramapuja Adi Shankaracharya, let's listen to a small story about this great saint. Now, as we all know, Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya, who was born in the 8th century, he was the one who gave this world the doctrine of Advaita Vedanta, wherein now today what the scientists are talking about, that everything and everything in this world is nothing but that one consciousness. They don't say consciousness, they just tell you that there is some power. They call it also as the God particle. Now, in fact, a very thrilling news is about last year, the astrophysicists who won the Nobel Prize. They eventually said that this world is false. What Shankaracharya said, if I have to describe Advaita Vedanta, somebody said, no, you have written big doctrines, tell us in simple, what is Advaita Vedanta? So he says, if I have to tell this in half a sentence, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, Jiva Brahmaina Paraha. So, Brahma Satyam, which means this God, existence, Satchidananda, that is the only truth, and Jagat Mithya. He said this Jagat is false. False meaning what? It is there now and it is not there after some time. That's all. It's not that it is false in that literal sense. Now let's say you're holding a ice cube in your hand and you're talking to somebody, and that person is probably an Advaita Vedanta student. He tells you this ice which you're holding in your hand is false. Now you'll say, what nonsense are you talking? I can see a nice square cube of ice in my hand. And you'll get into an argument. And in some time, that ice cube is not there in his palm. So the other friend says, didn't I tell you this is false? Yes, it is there now, but it is not permanent. That is the only meaning of false. When anybody says, based on any Upanishad, Brahma Sutra or the Bhagavad Gita, if they say it is false, what we have to understand it as, it is temporary, anityam, ashashvatam. That's all. The higher plane of reality is that consciousness, that Lord, that Paramatma, that Brahman, Atma, Satchidananda. These are all the various names. So Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya, he gave this doctrine. Then later, about 2 centuries later, this was something which people were not able to relate. He came in at a state where all the religious leaders of religion were fighting against each other, even to the extent that they were causing physical harm to the life of each other. Everywhere there were so many fights that our religion is greater, our doctrine is more supreme. So that is when Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya, he came, and then he completely dissolved all the myths which each and every religion had. And then he said, when we all are one, who is greater and who is less? Okay. Now, after that, as I told you, after about 2 centuries, then the Vishishta Advaita philosopher, Sri Ramanujam, he came in. And then he said, we all are an amsha, a part of that Lord. Even that many people were not able to understand. How can I be a part of the Lord? I am this jiva, I am suffering, I have this problem, I have that problem. At the level of the body I have a problem, at the level of the mind I have a problem. So I can't even be a part of that divine Lord. So after that, again after another century or 2, then there comes Sri Madhvacharya, who brought in the dualistic doctrine, Dvaita Siddhanta. That means God is different and you as a Bhakta, Sevak, Jiva, you are different. So what does this say is, they gradually started diluting this concept so that people can understand. And I tell you, this is so very important. Now I come from a family where we follow Dvaita Siddhanta from Sri Madhvacharya background, where we are very close to Sri Raghavendra Swami and Sri Raghavendra Swami Madhvacharya, all Dvaita. The Bhakta is different and the God is different. It is the right way to start. And then in between, when you were living in this kind of a atmosphere, environment, theory, doctrine, you're slowly digesting it. And with that bhakti and devotion you are developing towards the Lord, there is a kind of a relationship which establishes. And as you establish that relationship, then slowly, somewhere at some point he says, no, don't think that you are completely different from me. You are a part of me. And that's where the Vishishta Advaita comes in place. And after that, I think when my mind was decently mature enough. So then I got into the principle of the Advaita Vedanta of Adi Shankaracharya. So this way there is a gradual lift in your understanding of the supreme power. So now today the story what we are going to learn is about one of the disciples of Adi Shankaracharya. I am primarily wanting to talk what is the impact of the grace of a guru. When one surrenders to the guru wholeheartedly, manasa vacha karmana, what miracles can happen. So this is a disciple who was who met Sri Adi Shankaracharya at Sringeri in Karnataka. When Bhagwan Shankaracharya was on his tour, he met this young boy. Now he looks at the boy and he sees that he doesn't have that much of brains, but he saw that he was devoted. So the teacher, the guru, decided that it is fine. Now his name was Giri at that time when he met Sri Bhagwan. So he says, Giri, okay, come over, no problem. I know you are hardworking and you are a loyal disciple, come over. And then he says, okay, learn this. Giri says, nothing is getting into my head. And all the time he is only doing seva to Adi Shankaracharya. He's not even trying to study, because he says, whenever I sit down to study, I rarely understand anything which is told over here. And many a times he goes to the other 5 students which were there along with Sri Shankaracharya. They also said, why are you wasting our time? We have tried telling you so many things, so many times, but we hardly see you understand anything. No, but he says, our Acharya tells me you learn from your co-students. That's the reason I came. He says, no, don't waste our time. So this way, he was going back and forth, not understanding, trying to understand, but his one aim was always to serve the Guru. Right before Sri Shankaracharya used to get up in the morning, he used to be ready with the clothes and those utensils so that he could take the Guru towards the river. Then after he bathes, he does his Sandhya Vandan, then he bring him back. By that time he would have kept everything ready, plucked all flowers and kept everything ready for the puja. And then before the lessons would start for the other students, he would ensure that the whole place is properly cleaned. And then as the teacher is teaching, he is to not sit in the class, he is to come and see that the proper meal is prepared for the Acharya, and he is to serve him the meal. Then Sri Shankaracharya used to have a nap. He used to press his feet and fan him so that he sleeps well. And then again after he gets up, this way continuously he has been only serving the teacher. Now one day, as usual, the designated time of the class was due, and Shankaracharya is seated below a tree, a slightly elevated place, and he has all his students in front of him. Now everybody is looking at the teacher. How come Acharya has still not started the lesson? Then one Padmapada Acharya, he takes the courage, he musters courage, and he asks Adi Shankaracharya, hey Guru, why are you not starting the class? He says, no, I am waiting for Giri to come. Now what was Giri doing? He was washing the clothes of Shankaracharya at the river. He says, I am waiting for him to come. Then Padmapada Acharya, he points to a wall And he says, Acharya, please don't mind what I'm telling you. Teaching Giri and teaching this wall is one and the same. He is a dumb object. We have tried so many times to teach him, but we see that nothing gets into his mind. Then Sri Shankaracharya, he closes his eyes and just meditates for a few seconds. There Giri is with all his focus on the clothes. He is washing the clothes. Suddenly he gets a jolt in his body. That Acharya is calling me. Hey Giri, come. He says, what a rare feeling. Acharya is calling me. I think he needs me. So he just throws the clothes over there and he runs towards the Acharya. As he runs towards the Acharya, and at one point he sees him, suddenly he stops. He closes his eyes and he starts reciting 8 beautiful essence loaded shlokas about the praise of his Guru. These shlokas eventually came to be known as Totakastam, because then Sri Shankaracharya, he gives him the name as Totakacharya, because they were in a garden. Totaka means it is a garden. They were in a garden, so he says Totakacharya. And from that day onwards, Giri was called as Totakacharya. And his knowledge was, if not more than others, but equal to all others. So these stutis which he composed in the praise of Guru Adi Shankaracharya, even today they are revered as a token of respect and gratitude to a Guru. Eventually, Totakacharya, when all the mutts were being established, he was made as the first Jagat Guru of the Jyotir Peetham, which is in Uttarakhand. And then he also founded a mata, this Totakacharya, at by name Vadakke Modam in Trishur of Kerala. So this way, the grace of Guru is extremely important. What Giri had on his side was nothing but seva. He didn't know anything else other than seva. He never pursued his studies. But that seva bhava, that reverence, that obedience towards our Guru, that immediately liberated him and made him one of the greatest scholars of his time. So to such a great Guru and to such a great Shishya, we offer our humble salutations and we pray to our Guru to bless us, to drive away our ignorance and to give us the divine knowledge and experience. Om Tat Sat. Come. So now, today we'll get on to the 9th verse. So before that, let's revise the 8th verse. Okay. So now what was told in the 8th verse? Here we're talking basically of the connection. Okay. That ego is connected to 3 things. Now, I think we're very clear. I'll once again repeat. Consciousness, which is all across the entire universe, when it falls on a reflecting medium, which is the mind, it becomes reflected in that particular reflecting medium. As simple as you see that sun reflecting on a reflecting medium, which is water or a glass or a mirror or any shining surface. So in the same way, amongst the living beings, all living beings which have a mind, they become the reflected medium. So this consciousness reflected on a mind there is reflected consciousness. Just like as you see sun in a small dewdrop, so in the same way this consciousness reflects in this mind. And now along with the mind you have the ego. So what ego does? Ego immediately associates with this reflected consciousness. And what is the job of an ego? The job of the ego is to put that I stamp on everything. See, the senses give inputs. Mind collects all the inputs and gives it to the buddhi. The buddhi thinks about each and every input and it takes a decision. And it tells the concerned sense organs and organs of action to get into action. And at that point, what ego does is, it puts a stamp of I. I did this. I heard this. I told this. I smelt this. So this way, every action, its job is nothing but to put a stamp of I-ness. So this ego, perpetually connected to the reflected consciousness, now it slowly seeps into from the mind into the body. Body is not very far from the mind. In fact, the mind is in the body. So that awareness of that Chidabhasa. Chit is the consciousness, bhasa is the reflection. That reflected consciousness, Chit Chaya, shadow, or Chidabhasa, reflection, it percolates into the body, and in the body it percolates to the senses, and the whole system is lit up. How is it lit up? The association of ego and the reflected consciousness. See, this is the deepest Atma Vichara, Atma Jnana. If you can get this and again and again, again and again, again and again, think of this, at one point, this becomes so deep in your mind. So far what we have thought as I am the person, as ego, I. Oh, I am Srinivas. And this is my family, this is my house, this is my business, this is my relatives, these are my possessions, all this that I, what you have. Now at one point you say, what we are looking forward is to snap that ego. Once you snap that ego and you know that how this whole process has happened, that the only and only truth is that Satchidananda, the Paramatma, Brahman, then what happens? That point itself you get liberated. And then no returns, please. Even if you want to say no, now I want to come back into samsara, no, you are already liberated. Moksha is granted. There is no return policy here. Be careful. So if you are understanding this properly, and if you get this, you are sorted for life. Even nowadays, science is telling you how the brain rewiring happens. You can fool your mind. Practically you can fool your mind. You can tell that what is not there. If you tell the mind at one point will believe. And this has been told by even doctors now. When things are bad, you go on giving a very positive vibe, positive feeling to your body and mind, then you will feel that change in that health. So the same way we are using this knowledge, which is the truth actually, and we have to be, for some time we have to be established in that knowledge. Once you are established, then you come back to the world. It doesn't matter. Now that is already concrete in your mind. There is no going back. You be in the world like a normal person. Nothing should move you from that established situation. So this ego, now it is connected with three things. Now what are the connections? How is this I, which I have as a feeling in me, connected to consciousness? Number one. Number two, how is it connected to that reflected consciousness? And number three, what is its connection with the body? So these three connections, what we saw was, we got to know that the connection with the reflected consciousness is natural. Sahajam. Absolutely it is natural. And then we got to know that with the body it is karmajam. Till the time the body is there, as per the prarabdha karma, this particular I is associated with this body. And say after the death, the body is buried. So this particular aham, which is in this sukshma sharira, it travels to the next body. And no sooner this sukshma sharira enters the baby, now there it says, this is my body. It is till the time the karma of that body is there, this ego is again associated with that new body. But then finally, what is the association of this I with consciousness? So here the author says, Bhranti Janyam. It is nothing but it is illusion. There is no connection at all. So having understood this now we move forward and we understand the 9th shloka. Okay. How do I cut this relationship? Because what we are interested in is we want to snap the relationship. We don't want to continue with our aham bhava, where at the death of this body, the sukshma sharira travels along with the causal body and it waits for the computation of the papa and punya, and then again it gets another body, whatever be that body, animal, insect, human, any body. It enters the womb of that particular body, mother, and when it is delivered, it says, I am this body. So why do we need that? Let's cut it right here when we have all the eligibility to take care of it. Okay. So what does it say? Sambandhino sator nasti nivrittihi sajastato karmakshayat prabodhacha nivartate kramadubhe. Here it says, as long as these two terms where there is a natural relationship, like you have a mirror and you have a person who comes in front of the mirror. Now let's compare the person who stands. The face in front of the mirror is pure consciousness. Mirror is the mind, and the image of that person in the mirror becomes the reflected consciousness. So now when you see an image of a face in the mirror, are they not? Mirror and the reflection are not together. They're absolutely together. Now, so then what do we see? Meaning, here if you take this example, as far as there is a face in front of a mirror, there is going to be a reflection. You can't do anything about it. If the face goes away, there is no reflection. No sooner the face comes in front of the mirror, there is a reflection. Now why we should understand this? We take this example of a reflected consciousness here to a much more larger extent is because in that particular reflection one cannot see the original face. They can only see the reflected face. So in the same way, now this ego aham has mixed up with that reflected face and it fails to see the original face. But as far as the original face is concerned, it can live on its own. It doesn't need, if there is a mirror, there is a reflection, but if the mirror is not there, the face will still stay. As like the Brahman, without anything, it still exists. But for an image to fall, there has to be a mirror. So now, they say, the author says that this relationship between the original face and the reflection is sahajam. So now what you have to do? Now you have to understand that as long as the two terms in a natural relationship, as long as the mirror is there, there will be a reflected face, and you have a mirror, that is your face will be reflected in it. So as long as the ego is there, consciousness will be reflected in it. You can't cut it. So imagine when we are in a deep sleep, for example, the ego does not function. When we are in a waking state, the ego is functioning. When we go to a dream state, the ego is only functioning at 50%. And then when you go to a deep sleep state, the mind and ego are completely gone. So now, that point you don't feel the reflected consciousness. You don't even feel aware. If you felt that I'm enjoying a deep sleep state, that means you're not sleeping. You're not enjoying a deep sleep. You are awake. So in the same way, what we have to understand here is that as far as the mirror is there and the consciousness is there, the reflection is sahajam, so you don't have to do anything about it. Okay, it's natural. Now the second relationship. How do I cut the second relationship? So here again, the ego and the body, it is cut only by exhaustion of the karma. Till the time your karma is there and this body is there, the association of the ego is there with this body. One day the body will age, it will die, and then the ego will proceed on to the next body. But now these are not what we are interested. We are interested how to cut the relationship with the consciousness. What is that? So the answer is by awakening, prabodha, awakening by knowledge, by illumination, by enlightenment. Just by that knowledge, I am not the mirror. Please understand this. I am not the mirror. I am not the reflected face. I am that original face which is in front of the mirror. How do you cut the relationship between your real face and the reflected face? By knowledge. You know by knowledge, yes, it looks like me, but it is not me. It is just a reflection. So now whatever you are experiencing right now, we know that we should understand very clearly that this is reflected consciousness in me, and up all around me is that original face, which is that pure consciousness. Knowing that it's not me, it's a reflection, it's a part of the mirror. Only just by that knowledge you have cut the relationship. See, this is extremely important. You have cut the relationship between the real face and the reflected face. It may look exactly, but you know that that is not the real face. What is generated by error can only be removed by knowledge. For example, if someone has said something wrong about you to somebody else, okay, and now that same person, he goes to that somebody to whom he had told something wrong about you. He says, sorry, the other day I told about this person in this way. I was wrong because I was told by mistake about that person, and now I know the truth. So what I told you is wrong. Now what happened? Now where did the correction happen? The person who generated that error, he himself corrected it. So that which is generated by error has to be corrected by that same person. So now let's say, now a classic example is you're walking and you see a snake and immediately you get scared and you come back. Now what happens is you wait for some time and then you realize that it is a piece of rope. Now this is the most used classic example. Now how do you correct that? You got to know that it was a piece of rope, but earlier you had understood that it was a snake. Are you going to drive away the snake? Oh, This is a false snake, but I need to drive it. It's not a real snake. Do you need to do that? Or you need to take a stick and hush it away? No. You don't have to do anything. Only that knowledge that it's a rope. Then automatically the false snake is gone from there. All we did was we got that knowledge. That what we need now is, it's not me. What I have thought so far, that I, with that identification of A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever I have, it's not this. Arey Baba, this is a reflection of that pure consciousness. It, whatever it is nothing but the reflection of that pure consciousness. And you have to correct this by knowledge, prabodha, without which you can't do anything. Very, very clear. Now that we have got this knowledge, this I has first of all Bhranti Janam. It has got no connection with that consciousness. Now here one very important thing is what we need to understand. When we say I, you get confused. What I are we referring to over here? So we have to be very clear. We have to talk about this I, meaning this ego over here. How this ego is connected to reflected consciousness, how it is connected to the body, and how it is connected to pure consciousness. So it is very clear here that there is no connection at all. And you have to cut that connection, because you are under that impression only and only by knowledge. There is a story here. One of the greatest sages of our times, Brihaspati, his son Kacha. Now during those days, Brihaspati sends his son Kacha to one of the premier universities for study, to Gurukul basically. So now Kacha goes there, he studies all the Vedas and he comes back. And it's in a big place and in a huge Gurukul. Now here his father was running a small Gurukul. So he comes back from there. Like if you are in a small town in India and somebody has gone to London or gone to New York, and they come back, they have that air in them. I'm coming from a big place. And he bows down to his father, and father senses him that he is proud that he has studied from one of the iconic universities of the world. So after all, he's a father, so he understands his son. He just asks one simple question to his son. Hey son, he doesn't ask how was your studies and how was your stay and how was your journey. No, he just asks him, have you found peace? Now Kacha wanted to be truthful to his father. He had to admit the truth, and he says, no father, I have really not found peace. Then the father asks him, Kacha asks his father, oh father, I know you two are a great scholar. Please tell me, how can I get peace in life? Then his father says, by tyaga, renunciation, by giving up. So then Kacha, he feels that I know everything. What is tyaga? I know the definition of tyaga. I have learned so many commentaries about tyaga. So he said, okay, I give up everything. And that was his aim in life. I want to find peace. So he gives up whatever he has and he goes all over the country to various pilgrim centers, holy places, has darshan of all these places, blessings of so many gurus, munis, yogis, and then he comes back. His father asks him again, have you found peace? Then Kacha says, no. Father, tell me, how do I get peace? He says Tyaga, renunciation, by giving up, you will find peace. Then he thinks, what is that which I have not given up? Oh, I still have something. I have my clothes, I have my belongings. He says, let me give up all that. Even his loin cloth, whatever he was wearing, he says, I give up that as well. And of course, in those days, there were nude yogis who wandered all over the country. So he gives up even that loin cloth and he wanders around to such an extent that even he gives up his food. I am not going to search food. If anybody comes and offers to me, I will eat. Otherwise, I am going to starve. He is not even going to beg for food. This way he wanders the length and breadth of the country. Now, for several months, he wanders and then finally he comes back to his father. His father asks, have you found peace? No, father. To be honest, I have not found peace yet. Please tell me, what should I do? The father again says, Tyaga, renunciation. Now Kacha says, what else is there for me to renounce? Even that little loin cloth what I had, even at that also I have renounced. Now what else do I renounce? Then suddenly it strikes to him, oh, I have this body. I can see this body. I have to renounce this. He understood. He said, Father, I understood. He goes, he prepares a fire with all that. He stacks up firewood, dry firewood. He puts some ghee on it and is now ready to jump into that fire. His father comes and says, wait, my son, wait. This is no way of giving up your body. Why? Because if you do that, the mind with its desires will continue to the next birth. See, this is all extremely important for us. That's why I'm saying, because for liberation, one has to give up all the desires. As I told you, you may be living in this world. You may appear to be a normal person to everyone, but at the deepest level of your mind, you have to give up your desires. Desire with each and everything. Now we have understood what all Kacha gave up. To that extent, you have things, but they should, even if you don't have it, they should not disturb you. To that extent, you should own things. And he says, you know what will happen? You jump into this fire. This body will be burnt, but your mind, which is the Sukshma Sharira, will go on to the next birth with the desires, the samskars, what you have collected in this life. So the true meaning is, how do I give up? If I don't destroy the body, he says, then the father tells him the real secret. Giving up is giving up the ego of the mind. You want to give up your body? That's not necessary. Give up the ego of your mind. That chitta, that has to be given up. How do I give up the mind? How do I give up the ego? Then the father gives that final verdict. He says, by knowing that it's not me. Here is the point. How do you give up your ego? Just by knowing that it is not me. Now I realize that the ego and the mind are objects. Just as you treat your clothes, we treat our phone, we treat our books, our mobile, laptops, all this we treat as an object. So treat your mind also as an object. And that ego which is in the mind also as an object. See, now, before the invention of this mobile phone, just visualize those days. We had a phone which is in one corner of your house or your workplace. Whenever it used to ring, you used to go there and used to pick up. That identification with that phone was not that great. But now, don't you see the identification with your mobile is so strong that wherever you go, it is with you. It has become like an extended part of our body. Why? Because we have identified ourselves with it. So in the same way, we have identified ourselves with ego. It has become one with us. So just to know that it is an object. This is one of the biggest secrets which we can learn. Ego is nothing but an object. And how the ego is connected with the Chitchaya and how this whole awareness is formed, all that we have learned. Now it is much easier for us. Whatever you can see, whatever you can feel, whatever you can understand is nothing but an object. And yes, we know from time to time that yes, I am angry, I'm jealous, I am proud. So aren't these clearly visible in our mind? That this feeling of I'm not going to give this up, come what may. How dare you say that? So see, that because you are able to see that, it is nothing but an object. So with this knowledge, now the whole purpose of Drg Drushya viveka was to get this central teaching with that step-by-step understanding what we had. What you can see is the seen, and whoever is this person who is seeing that object, he becomes the seer. So now the Father tells him, know that your ego is an object. That's how Kacha understands. He says, what a fool I am. I didn't have to give up all this and wander all around the length and breadth of the country, giving up my possessions, giving up even my basic clothing, and giving up my food. I didn't have to do that. So he realizes his mistake, and at that point, he getting this knowledge, he stays firmly established in his mind that this is nothing and nothing but an object in my mind. And having got that, he stays with that knowledge. Whenever he sees that a thought comes, he knows. He connects from the consciousness to the mind, reflected consciousness, awareness, ego identified with the reflected consciousness. Remember the fire and the iron ball, how they both mix together. Now they are working mixed together. Anything which is happening, I am doing. But then once he gets that knowledge, he understands that he is not the doer. It is that consciousness which is reflecting over here. With this, the samsara ends for that soul. Now, I'll take a few more verses, about another 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'll give a gist of these 5 verses. Let's see how much we can complete. Briefly, I'll tell you. What does the 10th verse say? I'm just giving the essence. Now, whatever we need to understand, we have already understood, but some more facts for a deeper understanding. Now, the 10th verse says, in this state of deep sleep, when your ego, meaning your mind, has also disappeared, and see, this we are experiencing, everybody is experiencing on a daily basis. So the author says, at that point of time, the body is also unconscious, becomes unconscious. To what extent? That you don't know what is going around over there. How do thieves steal houses? People are sleeping nice, 70, 80, 90 kg people are sleeping there, but they are able to rob, get into the house, get into their bedroom, open the locker, and they run away. Meaning they are unconscious only, although they are lying. Why? Because their mind and that ego which are together, it has gone into a state of deep sleep. It's completely unconscious. And then another knowledge what we get is, when your ego is in that half bloom state. That is your dream state, where it is only functional half. Body is there and your mind is there, senses are not there. So at that point of time, what happens? You have those dreams, half state of that ego. And when you are awake, your ego is at its full, completely 100%. This is the knowledge which he gives in the 10th shloka. Now then we go to the 12th. Okay? 12th shloka he says, every jiva has a subtle body. And this subtle body is the material cause of the mind. Because mind, ego, and there are 17 components which they talk about here in a subtle body. He very clearly says that all this is only a revision of the Tattva Bodha, what we have learnt. All the 17 which constitute the Sukshma Sharira are nothing but insentient, Jada. And this creates the three states, the waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. And what are those 17 parts? 5 organs of perception, 5 organs of action, 5 modifications of prana, 15, manaha, which is the mind, and buddhihi, which is the intellect. And along with the mind comes the ahankara, and along with the intellect comes the smarana shakti. Okay, so now this is about the subtle body. Now in verse 13, what is Maya? Here Maya comes in the picture. Now because Lord even finally wants to say how I have created this whole thing. So here he introduces Maya. He says that this material world, what you are experiencing, is nothing but this. Because of this Maya Shakti, I have created this entire universe. This universe is illusive. It is appearing to be real. It cannot be described. This Maya is illusive. It cannot be described either as real or as unreal, which means what? It is in between. So the Lord says, the author says, this Maya, which is the power of Brahman, using this power, he has created this entire universe. Now I'll tell you, you're seeing this beautiful garden here. I'm not sitting in any garden. There is a technology. I'll just drag this over here. Can you see this square portion here? What you're able to see? Now this is the known as the green screen. I have a green screen at the back of me. Okay. Now that green screen, I can compare it to Maya. How? Keeping that green screen, it is like we have created this beautiful picture. What you can see, this entire picture here. With this picture is imposed on that green screen. So Lord, with that Maya, which is like the green screen, as we have imposed a natural picture over here, I can do any kind of picture over here. What we need is that green screen, which is that Maya. Now you have this, let's say for example, now I want to create another picture. Okay, let's say I go to a forest. Okay. See, this is another picture. Now I can go to a mountain. Now see here, you can see the waves also over here. A mountain is there, a nice sea. How is this happening? This is happening just because of that green screen which is there behind me. And that is, it was so stunning to me. This is like Maya. If you have that one green screen, you can have any kind of a picture at the back. So now the Lord over here He has created this entire universe with his power of Maya. This is the beauty of that Maya Shakti. Now, further, we'll go to the 14th verse, which is how this manifestation has happened. So the Lord says, with my Maya Shakti, all the manifestation of all the names, the forms, whichever you see in this existence, consciousness, bliss, is nothing but that Brahman, the Lord and Lord alone. So, what does he compare with the metaphor over here? He says it is like an ocean. In the ocean you have foam, you have waves, you have bubbles, you have various creation in the ocean, but all that is nothing but that Brahman and Brahman alone. So from Maya, this entire creation has emerged. And now the 15th verse, he comes out saying, this Maya has got two powers. One is the Avarana Shakti and the second is the vikshepa Shakti. Now if this is all real, but I don't see Brahman anywhere, I only see the world, this beautiful world. Of course there is an ugly world also. I see this. Then how is that possible? So then the author here, he says, Avarana Shakti. He says, first there is a veiling. A veiling is a covering. What is that covering? Now as you saw, although there is a green screen behind me, there is a veiling of that garden picture over there, or that mountain and the sea picture over there. How is it happening? That is the power of veiling. And the second one is the vikshepa. It has got the power of projection. What does it project? It projects something which is not there. Once you get to know this truth, it is like we are in a magic show. You are seated in the first row and you are very close to the magician in terms of distance. And the more closer you are, you are so thrilled with his magical acts. You are just stunned. But have you seen the assistant of the magician, who is day in and day out working with the magician? You will not see an iota of surprise or excitement or a thrill in him. Why? Because he knows the truth. So in the same way, we get excited, we get horrified, we get agitated, we get angry, we get depressed, we get joyous, we get sorrowful. Why? Because we don't know how the structure of the creator is in this universe. Once you know how this whole thing has been structured, just like that magician's assistant who knows what the magician is doing in terms of tricks, just like he being so calm, neutral and at peace, the same will dawn upon us when we come to know the truth. The reason for this excitement and up and down is that ignorance. Once we get that knowledge, we too can stay in bliss in that knowledge. So now we end Drg Drushya viveka over here, and then we'll take up the next verses. Now here the Lord will start with various yajnas, how you can make each and every act of yours as an yajna. Yajna means the first thing which comes to our mind is there is a fire altar, and then there is a Panditji and you are sitting there, then there is a ladle, there is havis, ghee, you're pouring into it, and there is a receiver, the Lord and all that, How can I do yajnas on a daily basis? To do it even once a year is a very costly affair. How can I do, not on a daily basis but even on an hourly basis? How can I do? not on an hourly basis, but every moment I can do a yajna, and that secret will be revealed to us by Lord Krishna in the subsequent shlokas. Okay. Now, Shri Krishna Arpanamastu Idam Namah. Come, let's study the Shri Vishnu Sahasranama, verse number 35. Okay. अच्युत प्रतित प्राणः प्राणदो वासवानुजः अपां निधिरधिष्ठानमप्रमत्त प्रतिष्ठितः. 324. Adhishthanam, the substratum for the entire universe. The delusory misconceptions can be projected only upon something that is real, and this permanent post is called the substratum for the delusory ghost. Now here he says, Matsyani Sarva Bhutani. He is the substratum for each and everything in this entire universe. 325. Apramattaha. One who has no pramada, meaning one who never commits a mistake in judgment. The Lord is the law behind all happenings in the universe. The results of the actions are always strictly according to the quality of the actions. In administering this law of karma, one who never makes any mistake is apramattaha. We as humans are full of pramada. We make the mistake of misunderstanding ourselves to be the matter equipment around us, and due to this pramada, the biggest mistake, we project in ourselves the false concept of an ego. The Supreme is ever the pure consciousness, and therefore He is without such wrong self-judgment. To such a Almighty, we offer our humble salutations. No. We'll do the Dhanvantari mantra. We'll read 3 times. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahasudarshanaaya Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrutakalashastaya Sarvabhaya Vinashaya Sarvaroga Nivaranaya Trailokyapataye Trailokyanidhaye Shri Mahavishnu Swarupa Shri Dhanvantari Swarupa Shri 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 Aushadha Chakra Narayanaya Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahasudarshanaaya Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrutakalashastaya Sarvabhaya Vinashaya Sarvaroga Nivaranaya Trailokyapataye Trailokyanidhaye Shri Mahavishnu Swarupa Shri Dhanvantari Swarupa Shri 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 Aushadha Chakra Narayanaya Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahasudarshanaaya Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrutakalashastaya Sarvabhaya Vinashaya Sarvaroga Nivaranaya Trailokyapataye Trailokyanidhaye Shri Mahavishnu Swarupa Shri Dhanvantari Swarupa Shri 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 Aushadha Chakra Narayanaya Swaha. Together we offer our humble salutations to Lord Dhanvantari. We seek His grace, His blessings to give us a life full of health till we achieve self-realization. Om Tat Sat. Now let's do the Sakshatkara Siddhi Yoga Dhyana. All of you, please be comfortably seated. Make yourself comfortable. If you need to get up and walk a few steps and sit back again, please do that. Relax that portion of your body which is not too comfortable, and then keep head, neck, and spine in a straight line. Now let's take a few deep breaths. Inhale and exhale as deep as you can. Now we are going to be a witness to our mind and the thoughts. A very important form of meditation to be in the Sakshi Bhava. Just be a silent observer of your thoughts without being judgmental. See the thoughts slowly dwindle down and pass away. As you continue focusing on the thoughts without being judgmental, you will see the number of thoughts gradually reducing. As you distance your mind and your true self, the number of thoughts will slowly start reducing. You will eventually experience a state of no thoughts. Now slowly bring your attention to your prana. Witness the breath going in and out of your nostrils. The body is an object. The pranas are an object. The mind too is an object. The Chaitanya Shakti is the ever shining true witness of all these states. Become aware of where you are seated. Become aware of yourself. And your surroundings. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Chinmaya Satgurave Namaha. Together, we offer today's Gita Jnana Yajna at the lotus feet of the Lord and seek His grace, mercy, and blessings. Na ham karta, Hari karta, Hari Preranaya, Hari Prityartam. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Idam Namama. Om Tat Sat.